Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. So, with this video, I wanted to talk about things that you should do before you ETS or retire. In one of my previous videos, I just told you guys that I did 20 years in the military. I just retired this past June, and we moved here. My family and I, we moved here. Excuse me, my spouse, my two dogs, and I, we moved here to Puerto Rico once I retired for peace of mind, essentially. But what I wanted to tell you guys about, so I don't know if the military or the army specifically or any other of the branches have changed their retirement process. I'm not sure if they did, but so it was what back in 22, I was deployed, and they had told us that we were able to put your retirement packet 2 years out, right? So I wasn't yet at 18. I didn't hit 18 years until 23. So once we got back from deployment, I had actually I got sent off to where was it? I think Louisiana, Mississippi. I was an OC. I had the OC for one of our teams that was getting ready to get validated for the deployment. And yeah, I remember I was staying in my hotel, and it was like what June 6th or 7th or something like that, which marked my 18th year in the military. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm done. It's official. So that very morning, I had got up and logged on to, I forgot what they call it, whatever the thing is that the Army use for the S1s, but you can upload your stuff or whatever. So I uploaded everything that was required that my S1 had gave me the year prior to get my retirement started 2 years early. So some things that helped me, and I want to help other folks out there that are thinking about retiring, is the more time that you give yourself to prepare for retirement, the better off you'll be in the long run. And also if you're ETSing too. So I don't know if the stipulation is if they give you 2 years or 1 year for ETS, but I know for retirement they used to give us 2 years, at least as of like 22 they did. I don't know what it is now, but I utilized that the time that I had. And so what I did was I created a schedule, basically a retirement schedule. A lot of backwards planning was done. So you have to do a lot of backwards planning because you have to figure out to make sure that you're hitting your marks. So the last thing, well, the first thing that I did was the last 6 months of before I had actually retired. My retirement date was June 30th of this year. So I counted back 6 months. So starting from January until those dates, I counted back as far as with when it came for terminal leave, when it came for my C&P exams from a VA, the BDD claim, which I'll talk about a little bit later, and then when it came to SFL TAP and stuff like that, right? So going back to what I'm saying to my 2 year planning. So the first year of the 2 years, the first year, what you need to do is as soon as you put in your packet to retire, let's just say, for example, we use the 2 year out, or let's just say 1 year. Let's just say, right? So what you need to do is the very first thing that I did was I got my medical records. I was like, let me get my medical records, make sure my medical records are up to date for everything that I have been through. And here's the thing: I came in the military during a time where being seen going to a sick call was very, very looked down upon. That's the type of military that I came up in, and so that always kind of just stayed with me as a private, and all the way up until maybe I was about an E6, and then I realized, you know what, that's stupid because at the end of the day, you know, you just like you have to take care of yourself. I talked to some other senior guys who had long retired, and it was just telling me like, no, don't get that mindset because in the long run you're going to f over yourself. Because a lot of us as soldiers, we have the tendency to just, when it comes to our medical stuff, to just not care. You know what I mean? Like, oh, my ankle's damn near broke. It'll heal. I have this ruck march I have to make and do in the next, week or whatever. Oh, I got this 5 mile run I have to do in the next, week or two or whatever. I'll worry about that stuff later. Nah, I'm telling you now, as someone who's recently retired, you need to start making sure that your medical records are up to par because it's going to pay off. And not so much pay off in the long run, but it's about taking care of yourself and taking care of your family once your military service is over and done with. So make sure you get your medical records. Now, for us, because the last 13 years in my career, I was in special operations. I was a 38 Bravo Civil Affairs in the military, and so we have doctors that what we did was they help us as far as with looking over our medical records. Like, hey, you guys are getting ready to retire, ETS. Actually, I think they only did it for those of us who was retiring, and they was just like, let us look at your medical records to make sure that you have that is everything that you've gone to sick call for or whatever. We have to make sure everything that you guys are legit. One thing I can tell you in special ops, they take care of us. They take care of soldiers. They really do, man. When it comes to family, when it comes to you retiring, when it comes to just so overall soldiers, we are really taken care of over in special operations. And one thing, the doctor that I saw, she really did look over my medical records and said, "Hey, you should claim these, and that, and you have all this other stuff that you can possibly claim that's all in your records." Because I was like, "Oh, I don't think, she was like, no, you need to realize that you have 20 years in the military. You've been all over the world in different places, war zones, and all this other stuff, and been exposed to all these things. Understand that there's people who are your age who's 45, 50 that are getting cancers and all this other stuff, these veterans that are getting these things a lot sooner than the average person would, because you guys, meaning us, are exposing yourselves to all these different ailments and everything else. So it's important that you claim these regardless. You need to claim them, whether they give you a 0, 10%, whatever the thing is. You need to claim them because these things will come back and bite you in the ass when you're sitting in the hospital dying from cancers and all these other things or whatever. So I was like, okay, cool. So she was like, I want you to start going to physical therapy for all these pains that you have in your knee. Like, I think I've stated before in one of my videos, I suffer from a lot of ailments, man. Like, I'm 39 years old, yeah, and I just retired. I live on the third floor. Biggest mistake we made was moving up on the third floor because my knees and my feet hurt. And I told you guys I have plantar fasciitis, and I can't even run. Yeah, I'm 39 years old. I used to love running. I wasn't the fastest, but running was just an escape for me. You know what I mean? It used to just. I remember I was in Romania, and I used to just run miles because it just helps relieve stress because I was going through a lot of shit during that time. But it used to help me relieve a lot of stress running and exercising, period. But it's so hard to do it now because all of the pains just seem to be there. My feet constantly hurts, man. I'm literally wearing special shoes. I have the slip ins that they gave me. I have everything that they've given me, but nothing seems to work. I did the surgery on my left foot right before I got out the military. They did surgery on my left foot back in June, right before I got out, and so that's still healing, but it's painful, man. I'm still having issues with walking. I don't run because I can't, but walking long distance, it hurts very bad, very bad. But anyway, making sure that you get your she was like, yeah, make sure you go to physical therapy for all these things. I have back pain. I feel, I was told that I have all these x-rays on my neck. I had concussions. I told you guys about these in one of my other videos. I was also diagnosed with a benign brain tumor. I forgot the name of it, a megaloma or something. I don't fucking know what it is. Something they call it. But again, I think that links back to when I was in Afghanistan and the air and the toxic pits that we were exposed to and everything. Yeah, all of this stuff while active duty, y'all. So it's crazy. So please ensure that the your first year of your 2 year, if they're still doing that for retirement, that you guys are going to your physical therapy and that you guys are being seen by the doctor. Again, because we have a tendency as soldiers to just ignore certain things. Don't do that to yourself. So make sure that you are going to go see your physical therapist, because that's what I did. My last year, it was all physical therapy for me. all physical therapy for like my neck, my back, my shoulder, like, and these are real severe pains. And I have all my X-rays, MRIs that show these things that I've ignored. Rucking for miles and miles, and your feet, your back, and all that stuff that pressure that you put on your body. It really has taken its toll on me. The next thing is, yeah, I think I was saying, build your retirement schedule. Get you a calendar. That's what I did. I got me a calendar, like a desk size calendar, not a desk size calendar, but you know what I'm saying, one of those desk calendars, desk side calendars, and just started backwards planning from there. And then you start marking out this time, making sure that you're staying on your that you're hitting your benchmarks, because it's important, because staying on your schedule is going to help your transition be very smooth. Next, is, I think I said physical therapy. Yep. Make sure that so what I did was, I did all of that stuff starting from January all the way to December of, what was it, 24, right? So I got my physical therapy. I was making sure I get everything documented. I already have PTSD. I've been having PTSD for like the past, since what, 2018. I've been on medications, and so I've been taking, you know, pills for that crap, on top of nightmares and other shit that I was having, that I've been having for years, um, since being on active duty or whatnot. Um, so what I did was, once I got all that stuff, the new stuff updated into my records, that December, before we had Christmas Exodus, I had did another update to my medical records. I went to on post on Bragg, went to Womack, like, hey, can I get another copy of my medical records that have everything on there, the most updated stuff? Because January, I had an appointment with the VSO, the Veteran Service Officer. That's the one who's going to be doing your BDD claim, which I'll talk about a little bit more in depth in another video. But basically, what I did was, I got my final medical record in December. January, me and the VSO sat together, and we went over some other things as far as the ailments that I had that was in my medical records. And that's what we put in the claim. And then I was juggling a lot. Like, those last 6 months before you get out can be really, really hectic, because you have 180 days to put your claim in. Well, while to do the BDD, if you're going through the benefits delivered at discharge, BDD, if you're doing that, which you should be doing that, while transitioning from active to ETS'ng or retiring, whatever, you should be doing that, because that's what you need to be doing. Because when you're going through SFL TAP, they're going to tell you about all that stuff, and whatever, this stuff is owed to you. Again, like I say, don't feel any shame. Don't let nobody shame you. You've earned this. You understand what I'm saying? You put your body and your mind through the ringer. So you owe it to yourself, because there can be a point at time where you can't work because your body is disabled, or something may arise, or something not arise, but what you already dealing with, it exasperates and just goes haywire. You know what I mean? Because that happened to me. And so it's like, I, had to stop. I had to quit working. I had a job, and then I had to quit because my feet was hurting so bad, to the point my feet were swollen, both of them. And I went to the hospital. My spouse could tell you, like, I'm not even joking. Like, it was that bad, and my back was hurting. I was just like, yo, I can't do this. I can't put my body through the stress no more. So I ended up having to quit. But so anyway, going through that. So January, you do your VSO, and then I started SFL TAP at that same time. Um, no, not SFL TAP. I'm sorry, Skill Bridge. That's what it was. I started my Skill Bridge. My Skill Bridge was like, what, 8 weeks long, I think, 9 weeks. I did like the logistics one when I have a master's in logistics management. So I did that for like 8 weeks. But during that time, I was also doing CMP exams, which you cannot miss. You do not want to miss your CMP exams, because if you miss your CMP exams, they put you in the back of the line, and they're moving other people. If your set goal, let's say, for example, I was retiring. My retirement date was June 30th. So I had to count back what I think I had like 50 something, 59 something leave days for terminal leave. So count back those leave days plus an additional 20 days that you got for PTDY, which allows you to go to leave, gives you an additional free day, 20 free days to go house hunting or whatever. So that right there was like 70 something days already. So you're counting all of that back. Excuse me. So that's backwards planning there, and then trying to make sure that you're hitting your CNP exams and all that other stuff. So it's very, very critical that you set a timeline for yourself if you are ETSing and retiring out the military, because if not, you're going to miss something, and then you're going to miss out on an opportunity of a benefit of something that you should rightfully have that you've earned. You understand what I'm saying? So I highly recommend that you guys build your schedule, do your backwards planning from the time that you know your actual ETS and retirement date. Once that's official, once you have submitted your paperwork and your S1 have sent it off and it's going up the chain and you have orders back, or not so much orders, but you have a date that's set in stone, you start your planning. You start your backwards planning. But the most important thing I would tell you is, again, is to make sure that you get your medical records. I have my medical records. I have copies of my medical records. I have digital copies of my medical records. My spouse had digital copies of my medical records. So if anything ever happens to me that my spouse has that, it can go through the VA or whatever the case may be. You understand what I'm saying? To make sure that my spouse is taken care of if God forbid something was to happen to me. You know what I mean? I'm human. We're all human. We all gotta, you know, go at some point in time. But I want to make sure that my family is set, that everything is okay. So it's important that if that's that you have your stuff in order and that you have time, because not only that, during that time you also have to do your retirement ETS physicals. You have to do that. You have to go to all those briefings and all that stuff. And oh, and that was another thing that I did the first year of the 2 years. I did all my SFL tap, those classes and all that other stuff. I did all that stuff the first year to knock all that stuff out the way, because that gave me plenty of time to focus on my medical stuff, because that was the biggest thing to me, is to make sure that my medical stuff was together. Because once you get out, those folks don't care about you no more. They truly don't. That's just how it is. They just don't care because, you did your time, you're out now, so figure it out. But I wanted to make sure that all my ducks were in a row. And so I did all the SFL tap stuff, got all that stuff out the way. My chain of command was very, very understanding, except for the one, except for like the last few months before I was 180 days out. They already knew I was retiring. They had, I was pretty pissed about it, but they, short little story, they had, I was a operations NCYC, and I finished my time. If you know anything, for those of us who've been operation NCYCs, and especially in special ops, and it's not easy, man. You're planning training events. You're pretty much running a company. You understand what I'm saying? And it was stressful. And so we had just had a one of our sister companies had just got back from a deployment, and they had tasked me. I had just finished my time, and I was helping transition some other guys that was taking over from my position in the ops, and I was just like, oh, thank God I can breathe. And then all of a sudden, the sergeant major, hey, I need you to go over here to this company so you can help set them up, set their operations up. You only do it for a few months, and then you can start focusing. I was like, I do not want to do it. I don't want to do it because I was exhausted. I was exhausted mentally, and I wasn't really feeling the commander much because he was a new commander, straight, this major, and I'm just like, yo, I don't feel like being bothered with this. Like, I don't feel like having to worry about training schedules and training, planning training meetings and going to training meetings at the battalion level and I was just exhausted. I was like, I don't want to do that shit. So I was just basically training up the other guy. I sat with their company first sergeant and the incoming commander, and I told him, I said, look, I'm not going to be able to give you 100%. I told him. So I was like, I'm retiring. Like my packet is in. I'm retiring. Like that's my focus. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to give you 100%. I told him straight up, I'm not about to give you 100% of me because I just did it for like the last year or two, and I'm just tired. I retired. I'm retiring. I'm not doing it. Well, and I didn't say I wasn't doing it, but I'm not going to give you 100%. I'm just not. And he understood. They really did. The first sergeant and the commander understood. And all of the guys in the company, they was like, "What? Why are you coming over here? Like, aren't you retiring?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm retiring." But and I knew all of them because majority of them were students of mine when I was at. I used to be at Swick. I used to be an instructor, and so I knew most of those guys in the company. But they was just like, "Oh, you should retire." I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "That's pretty effed up." I was like, "You gotta do what you gotta do," but I'm not about to be running the show. I'm not signing for no equipment. I'm not about to do all that. My assistant, like, I'm gonna help get you squared away. We had a new officer coming in, and I was just like, "Yeah." And they was doing some other transition and stuff later down the line, and finally they got me up out of there. I was like, "Thank God." And I just, continued to focus 110% on my retirement. I was getting my skill bridge stuff approved and just doing. I was worrying about me while I was there. To be honest, I was not worried about putting no damn training plans together. I just kind of pawned it off on the officer. Like, look, sir, here you can get this. You can go to this meeting because I'm not going because that's not my focus right now. My focus is ensuring that my retirement. I only get to retire one time, and I'm gonna make sure that I do it the right way. Is what I was telling them. So you know, but it all worked out in the end. Very good group of guys in the battalion that I was in, and I retired. You know what I mean? So I put my faith in God, and everything worked out the way I planned it because I made sure that I planned it the way I wanted to because it was my retirement. You know what I mean? So I made sure that I have my ducks in a row. And I'm telling you guys who watch this video, make sure that you have your ducks in a row, that you ensure that you have your plan, your backwards planning, your schedule, that you sit up there and you make your schedule of your retirement or ETS plan. You know what I mean? Start with the last 6 months. The last 6 months, I can tell you, is going to be your VA stuff, it's going to be SFL TAP, and it's going to be terminal leave. That's really what it's going to be the last 6 months. So you can just backwards plan from that. Everything else, like I said, focus on your medical. Focus on your medical stuff. Make sure you go to your physical therapies appointments. Make sure that you are being seen for all the ailments and everything that I know a lot of us just continue to act like they don't exist, sleeping through pains and stuff like that. you know it's crazy. I found out that I had sleep apnea. I found out a whole bunch of stuff, man, because I had just been ignoring things. And sleep apnea, bro, you can die in your sleep from sleep apnea. You can really die. People think sleep apnea is not a serious thing. It's very serious. You can die in your sleep. And so people need to understand. I have the whole breathing tube thing, all that stuff. Um, you know, but yeah, take care of yourself because nobody else is going to do it. Nobody else is going to take care of you but you. And if you allow your unit to work you like a dog, you will put yourself on the back burner because a lot of us in the military, we're not self-serving. We like to serve others. You know what I mean? Especially as leaders. You know what I mean? I retired as an E7, so we know it's about taking care of soldiers and stuff like that. It was hard for me to say no on a lot of different things that I didn't want to do to help to help. But I was just like, I can't, man. Like my focus is my retirement. And a lot of people understood. They're like, yeah, I would be doing the same, and they're right. So it's really on you to make sure that you are taking care of yourself because nobody else is going to do. So let's recap. First thing first, make sure you put your packet in. Make sure you know your dates as far as what you actually going to retire or ETS. Second, make sure you get your schedule together, your ETS retirement schedule. Just know, like those last 6 months, like I said, it's going to be VSO stuff, um, SFL tap, and terminal leave. Third is going to be your medical records, and the fourth is going to be physical therapy. Going to physical therapy for your ailments, taking care of yourself, finally being able to take care of yourself, not having to worry about, making height and weight. Not so much of that, but PT tests and all this other bullshit and all the other unit functions and stuff like that. That is your time. Your unit is supposed to give you that time to get your stuff together. I stayed busy. I stayed busy so that they didn't mess with me. I went to my physical therapy appointments. I went to all my appointments. Made sure that I went to all my briefings, retirement briefing. I know Bragg, they do them. They are good at the retirement briefings, making sure you get there. And there's certain check marks that you have to do. You have to make sure that you get your DD 214 review, all that stuff, man. It's a process to retire. It is a process. And if you don't, you treat it, you have to treat it like an operation. Treat it like an operation. So ensure with Sergeant Major eat sugar cookies, right? You have the situation, mission, all that stuff. Make sure you treat it like an operation. Get your shit together because you only get to do this one time. Only get to do this one time and make sure you do it the right way. So that's just my tidbit on that. If you have any comments, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'm always in the chat. If anybody's chat, like I said, this channel is brand new, and I'm brand new retiree veteran. I just want to share, the most recent information from what I've experienced so far. So feel free again to like, comment, subscribe. And if you make any comments, I will do my best to make sure I answer your questions. Please feel free to answer any questions if you have any, whether you're ETSing or you are retiring. All right. Have a great night.